Hello Internet, I'm Matt Haas. This is another Learn Adobe Illustrator video here on the Awesome Wood Things channel. I also make cool stuff in my wood shop if you're into that. We're going to learn about the transform tools. I know that may seem easy and a lot of people use the default way of using it. Well, I'm here to tell you there's a precise and very fast way to use this tool. I'll break it all down and I'll show you what to ignore because there's a lot of fluff in there too. I have a Patreon page. If you like these premium learning tutorials, feel free to support me over there. Either way, let's get into it. Okay, the first thing we have to get out of the way is the corner widget. So I'll get my direct selection tool out, A on the keyboard. These circles allow the corners to be controlled fluidly. And this is a new feature in Adobe Illustrator Creative Cloud. It's horrible. Get rid of it. If you want to control just one corner, you can just select one like that. All right, here's what you do. Under the View menu, go to Hide Corner Widget, and then never turn it back on ever again. Yes, if you need corners, this is a convenient way to do it. It used to be a lot more difficult to deal with corners. You used to have to do each piece, and if you needed to make an adjustment, you grow the one and then move it over, mirror it. But believe me, those circles that show up, huge pain in the butt. So I'll put them back on. Like when you select stuff like this, all this, you could accidentally hit that and then you just wrecked your stuff. Undo, Command Z. Yeah, turn that off straight away. Next is the bounding box. If you have your selection tool, V on the keyboard, I typically don't use the selection tool. It's nice. The thing about the selection tool is it gets everything in a group, and if something's not in a group, it'll select every anchor point along the way. So here's a rectangle. If you have your selection tool out, you just click anywhere, then all of those handles are active. You can't tell because you have this bounding box, but if I switch tools, you can see all of them are selected. I like precise control. Typically, I use the direct selection tool. All right, so let's talk about that bounding box. This is it. And the bounding box is like the kindergarten way to scale stuff because many other programs do it. You take a handle, you move it out. Okay, boom, you've scaled it. You can go in one direction. If you kind of hover away, you'll get the rotate. Okay, very basic. I recommend turning off the bounding box, and it's on by default. So again, go to View, Hide Bounding Box, and then never turn it back on. Okay, now let's get into the transform tools. There's 4 of them. There's rotate, scale, and then if you click and hold, underneath rotate is reflect, and then underneath scale is shear. And then there's this awful reshape tool. Don't ever use that either. We'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so here we go. Let's deal with rotate. So I will select one of my items here. I could have just used the selection tool and just clicked it once. That's fine too, but I'll get the rotate tool out here. Few ways to do it. All 4 of those tools work by what I call clicking down a target. So if I click here and then going somewhere else, clicking and dragging, and then you rotate around that target, or whatever transform tool you pick will work around that target. Undo. And it doesn't have to be on something. You can kind of see if you look close, a little target there, click it up, move it. Undo. Click down, let up on the mouse, grab somewhere else, transform it around. like everything else in Illustrator, hold the Shift key down and you will constrain to the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, and the diagonals. Okay. Now, reflect tool. Let me change this a little bit here. So I will make this just a bit lighter, and maybe I'll get a little fun with it. We'll add like one red glowing eye right in the center. We're gonna need this to understand reflect, because reflect, it also works like rotate. See, it's got that rotation property, and I'll hold the Shift key down, and to okay, so now see the red dots on his left eye? Undo. Now, if you're real sophisticated, you can hold the Shift key down to constrain it, and then hold the Option key down or Alt on Windows, and you see you get the little double arrow icon. Now you let up, you've copied it. Okay, I do that all the time, is do a transform, hold the Option key down, Alt on Windows, boom, you have a copy. And if you constrain it, all the better. So now you can see it actually is mirrored. Even though it kind of did that fluid rotation method, it's still mirrored. Okay, cool stuff. So let me get rid of him. Now let's talk about scale. Same thing. Click down somewhere. Let me click in the middle of his eye. Lift up your, move your mouse somewhere else. Click, hold, and drag, and you can scale. Shift key constrains. Okay. Undo. Shear. I tend to use shear on the baseline, at least when you're first learning. So target on the baseline, click higher on the object, click, hold, and drag, and then you will shear it. And again, I like to hold the Shift key down. If not, it gets kind of wonky. I believe the tool was initially created so you can make things italic, for whatever reason. Now, few more things you need to know. All of these tools work if you do your target, but you hold the Option key down when you click that target, or Alt on Windows, you get dialog boxes. Boom. Dialog box. And if you blinked, you missed it. When you hold the Option key down, you see those little dots. In any program, the UI, the user interface, you get 3 dots. That is the signal to the user that a dialog box is going to pop up. You'll see it down. You go to this option, whatever it is, click up, dialog. Why did that dialog happen? You get that dot, dot, dot. Same thing with the Option key. You get that dot, 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 boom, dialog. Now, and now you can choose the rotation based on data input. In the scale tool, all these dialog boxes, there's 2 very important options here: scale, stroke, and effects. Scale, stroke, and effects, it seems insignificant, but this was the reason that Illustrator took off in the late 80s, early 90s, because at the time you had cameras, like you would have line art, you would put it on a stat camera and it would shrink. So scale, strokes, and effects. You can either have the stroke scale with it or not. So let me just do a simple example. I'll draw a so here we go. An awful looking shape here. If you scale without that on, and I'll go half the size, see how the stroke stayed the same? 50 points before, I'll undo. 50 points before and after. Or you can have it checked, which would be like a traditional analog method. And if you go down, now it preserves the proportions. It went down 25 points because it was 50%, smaller. It got half the size. Major, major, major thing. And, you know, I gotta mention those corners. Oh, gosh. Put my corner widget out there. Okay, so now I got my corner widget. So if you're scaling, you can choose to have the corners scaled or not. See, now they didn't stay in proportion. Now they will. It's stupid. I mean, not stupid, but practical? No way. Finally, we have the transform panel, and this has a lot of good information. The X, Y, where the reference point is. Reference point, you may or may not need it. Oh, look at that. I still have my corner widgets shown. If you have rulers, under View, Rulers, Hide or Show Rulers, Command R, you can change this reference point, and if you type 0, 0, it's up in the 0, 0 point. Where's the 0, 0 point? Wherever it appears on the rulers, you can drag a new 0, 0 point, click off of it, and so now it's at 0, 0. You might need that for precise control. I don't really use it that often. And the scale corners and scale stroke and effects is also in the dialog. And for some reason, they put it here too. See, it's so important. They have it 3 places. So that's scale. Turn off those awful defaults, target your center point, and then transform around that center point. Shift, constrains, option, locks. You'll be good to go and using the transform tools like a pro. So much better than those bounding boxes, which you should turn off completely. All right. Hope this was helpful. Thanks, Internet. Hit my Patreon page if you like this. Thanks.